All right, all right. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome back to another Element Random webinar. Today's conversation talking about stop chasing checks, and we're going to talk about all things getting paid for that work that we do. Super excited about all of you guys that are hopping on in here. I'm going to give it just a quick second, and everybody's piling on in. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day to all of you guys. Hope you are having a great week. I know the weather is getting a little bit cooler for some folks across the country, and that like fall air is in the air, and we're all talking fall cleanup, snow, all that's coming down the pike. So really excited about the transition we're about to go through into the fall season. Today we're going to be talking about all things LMN Pay, like I was just alluding to. Really excited about today's discussion. When we do these webinars and the topics that we discuss, I feel like I'm going through the whole journey with you guys, talking about things that are very near and dear to my business and where we've been the last decade or two in our company here at Brian's Law Maintenance. And today's discussion is going to be no different. And also, not only for myself, but for our great guests that we have joining us here today. If you guys are new here, as we jump on into it, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you haven't been on a webinar just yet with Graham, first things first, we'd love to just have a great discussion with you guys in the comment section. In fact, before we jump into it, a little roll call here. If you guys want to let us know where you guys are calling in from all across the city, it's always great to see where you guys are plugging into. And also leave me a quick comment. What is your favorite part as we go into fall? Is it the fall colors? Is it getting ready to decorate for Halloween or harvest? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to see what you guys are thinking as you're going into fall. Kentucky's joining us, Virginia's joining us, Kansas City in the house. All right, a lot of Midwest and down south folks joining in. Hey, Michigan, we got some Michigan folks. So there you go. All right. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. If you guys have a specific question today on the webinar, make sure you leave it in the Q&A chat for both Kevin and Noe. We'll get to that here in just a quick second. That's a different part of the chat. So if you have a pertinent question on topic today, we'll make sure to grab all those later this hour. If you guys don't know, I'm really honored to host this webinar with you guys. My name is Brian Fullerton. I do run a lawn and landscaping and snow removal business up here in the greater Metro Detroit region. Actually been doing this for 20 years, probably 30 years, really, if you take it all the way back to when I was a 10-year-old kid pushing a mower like so many of you guys. We are growing a seven-figure lawn and landscaping company, have a great team of guys in the summer and basically double up and flex up twice that in the winter. Do a little bit with social media on the Brian's Law Maintenance YouTube channel and the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And it's been my distinct honor and privilege to be able to host these random webinars with all of you guys. So thank you so much, as I say on every webinar, for taking time out of your busy day to spend some time with us. We really do appreciate that. As we go through here, I want to just literally jump right on into it. We've got two great guests. Both of these guys are familiar faces of the industry, and you might even recognize one of them recently from a Break Records tour that we did in Virginia. So without further ado, let me kick it over to our great guest. Noe, you want to take it away and maybe give a quick 2-minute background on yourself, brother?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Brian. Again, Noe Lawerka, based right outside of Washington, D.C., Arlington, Virginia. Been doing landscaping. Started the business 13 years ago. We do residential, commercial. We're growing in the commercial sector, and we're working on a lot of the same things that you guys are. And so it's really a blessing to be able to share all of this with you guys and be able to let you guys know sort of all the difficulties that we go through and how we overcome them, and be able to share our experiences with you guys.
And Noah, you've got a great business, brother. Super humble guy. We were down there just about 2 months ago, I think it was,
Yep.
and it was so great to see Avanza Landscaping, your entire team, and even Mom, I think it was, right? And
Yeah.
every, they're just a great business over there. So you got a great expert here today with Noe, guys. So we're really excited that he's here to join us. Another person that needs no introduction, but I'll give him a quick, softball here. Kevin Scott has got a great business over on the northwest side of Canada. He's everywhere you go at conferences. He's speaking on stages. He's a thought leader. And Kevin, we're really honored to have you here for this hour as well. So I'll let you maybe fill in some of the cracks with Muskoka, but great to have you on today as well, brother.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I appreciate it. And great to be here, guys. And thanks to Granham for the invite. I think these things are so helpful. Yeah, Kevin Scott, Muskoka Landscapers. We've been in business 18 years in the Muskoka area. It's land of the lakes. We do custom work on high-end residential lakefront properties, design build. We also do maintenance on a residential level. We're not into snow. We used to be into snow, but we're not focused on that anymore. We've got some other things that we work on in the winter. But it's been an awesome journey. It's been a great industry to see the improvements that have been happening in the past couple of years. I also work with a platform called the Wealthy Landscaper, which we do a lot of coaching. We do some small events. And that's also been a lot of fun working with people in the industry to hopefully make their business better.
I love it. I love it. Well, folks, you're in the right spot today if you guys are excited about talking about getting paid in your business and better ways to do it. And the fun discussion here is we're going to talk a little bit about LMN Pay and their new integration with Stripe here as we go to the top of the hour. But the discussion today is going to be about best practices that Noe and Kevin are finding with some great success in their business. And look, let's just be completely honest here for a quick second. We're all friends, we're all peers. Cash on hand to grow our businesses, both present and in the future, is one of the probably less talked about conversations. But when you really peel back layers of the onions, especially for folks that are growing and scaling a business, it's a very pertinent topic. You know, you have to have cash for payroll every week or bi-weekly. You have capital expenses. You need to have some reserves for a rainy day. God forbid, a situation like COVID happens and it shuts you down for a couple weeks or a couple months. Cash is super critical. So before we jump into it, I want to just get a quick pulse out there. We got a great poll. I love polls. I know so many of you guys do as well. But let me know where you guys are facing some of the most difficulty with cash. Is it spring startup? Is it mid-season, winter gap? Let us know on the poll here. Kevin, what's been your guys' observation in the industry? Where is cash the toughest for you guys?
Yeah, for us, I think it's historically spring. I think we've made a lot of improvements over the years to help with that. A lot of it revolves around how we structure our contracts, making sure that we're trying to get a draw early April to kind of, fill the coffer, so to speak. But a lot of it for us has always been spring. I mean, you burn cash all winter. Even when we were in snow removal, it wasn't enough to really cover all the overhead. So there was still a big burn. And we've come up with other ways to keep our best members and oldest members on the team busy, doing things outside of our industry, like building homes. We've gotten into that the past couple of years, but I would say the biggest thing for us was just really making good adjustments to our contracts so that we were getting an influx of cash early in the spring, even if we were billing a little bit late in the fall, just through the winter months. And that's really been probably our biggest key to making sure that cash flow stays strong.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, the poll here, we've got spring startup seems to be most folks, the majority actually, let me rephrase that, is mid-season. Payroll goes out every Friday and the checks come in whenever. Well, I can relate to that. We'll get to that here in a minute. So it's about 40% of it. So spring and summer seems to be where we struggle with cash the most. And that makes sense. It's the most expensive part of the season. Like Kevin said, we're cash flowing a lot of that spring upstart, maybe recovering from some winter, costs. That's a real conversation. A lot of us seem to be a little bit more pancakes in the spring and steaks in the fall, as I always say. And I can totally relate that. I'm very cash flush August forward until I have to do my bulk salt pre-buy, and then we're back to pancakes. But that's a whole nother story that we'll get to today. So, Noe, give me your 30 seconds here. We'll jump into the conversation. But can you relate with this? Have you guys solved some of these problems? I know we'll break this all down, but where are you guys at?
So we have been every single one of those. We've been tight in the winter, tight mid-season, spring, and so coming in, I will say this, that it really has become spring. And when I reached out to other companies, and this is one of the reasons why I love doing this, is talking with bigger companies, and you meet the owner of a $20 million company, and you see that they're still having issues with cash flow in spring. You go, okay, great. What other things can we relate on? So that's why it's super helpful to be able to discuss this with others and just see how are you tackling this.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on everything you just said. As we continue to grow and scale businesses, I thought, my struggle would, just be getting the work or finding great people. A great line that I heard recently, I was working with ChatGPT, and I was like, Chat, like, help me explain some things with some great analogies that help this make sense for me and some of the podcasting I get to do. And a little nod to LMN, but basically it was the budget allows you to design a perfect business model, right? To have profit. Cash and cash flow are what allow you to stay alive long enough to actually have that upside of that perfect business model. And I was like, damn, that's a bar, for sure. So that's a drop mic moment. So when we talk about struggling with cash, spring, summer, fall, winter, folks, like we're all with you. It's a real conversation. Now, here's the deal. The folks that have mastered this, Kevin and Noe, great examples in the room today, will give you some of those nuggets and some insights of what they've changed in their business. That's going to be our core conversation here as we go into it for the next 20 minutes. But we've all been there with struggling with cash. And, I wish that a lot of the problems that we have today were solved by just having more cash in the till and in the coffer, like Kevin was talking about. In fact, it's like oxygen. When you have it, you don't think about it. But when you don't have it, it's all you think about. And we can share some very, real painful stories. We've all had them about not having enough cash for payroll or materials or, selling work just to cash flow to the next 2 weeks of payroll to get to the next 2 weeks. And so we're going to try to fix up and shore up some of those, pain points here today. So as we go through this conversation with some of the struggles of being in the landscaping industry, very, very real conversation for all of us here today. I want to go into this next slide here, talking about what it's really costing you if you don't have your payroll, you don't have your materials, you don't know where the next 10 grand, 100 grand, you don't know where your cash reserves lie, what it can really cost you. So I want to kind of ping back and forth with Kevin and Noe as we go through this. And you guys already alluded to some of these, but if any of these stick out, I want to kind of go to you guys as our resident experts today. Kevin, let me go right back to you, talking about that spring startup with what it really costs you. It's not just dollars and cents. It's probably, let me guess, stress, logistics. What have you guys noticed over there with Muskoka if you don't have enough cash in the spring?
Yeah, probably poor decision making. We always say it's easier to make good decisions when you have good cash flow. I always like the analogy, when we talk about contracts, this isn't mine. I've heard it before, but the bank and I have a good relationship. They don't do landscaping, and I don't lend money. So from the design build side, we're fortunate that a lot of our projects we're booking out 6 to 8 months ahead. We have lots of time to get contracts in place. We structure the contracts in a way that we're not out of pocket any money until the end. We leave a small hammer, usually around 6 or 7%, depending on the project. And I think that's fair, and I think most customers understand it. I think along with that contract, you also need to implement a really good strategy around what happens if they don't pay. Like, how does the contract read? What are the timelines? Ours is 7 days within notification, like within them being notified. That's worked well for us. And honestly, we've had a contract like that for 8 or 9 years with this sort of strategy to alleviate cash flow pain. We've only ever pulled off site twice, and it was literally for like a week. It wasn't for long. And actually, one person, we just made them wait a little longer because it was frustrating. But I think when you have systems like that in place, and Noe can likely speak better to the maintenance side, but good contracts, upfront cash, really allows you to make those right fit decisions, buy better, work with your vendors more closely. There's just mountains of things that happen that improve your flow and your stress level when the cash flow and the contracts are good.
Yeah, I can't agree enough. It almost imagine you don't have enough cash and then you get a big contract that comes through and you're like, your decision making is very cloudy, right? And folks, we'll give you the solutions here as we go through this journey together over the next half hour. I don't want to just doom and gloom it, but it's a real conversation. Big snow contracts come across your desk. You're like, well, we don't even have enough cash for payroll, and now I need to get a loader for that site or pre-buy another 50 tons of bulk. That doesn't put us in a position of strength. Noe, let me go to you, brother. Just piggybacking off of this, do any of these stand out for you, other than all of them, like you said earlier, which I thought was hilarious?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, right, you mentioned the contracts, but if we're looking at, we are maintenance heavy. And so then if we are going to take on another contract and we say, let's say one of my prospects is a $900,000 maintenance contract. And I go, what's going to happen in the spring? Are we going to be able to take that on? Is that, are we going to, that's going to be more mowers. That's going to be more payrolls. That's going to be more mulch. That's going to go down in the spring. And I say, okay, can we do that? I don't have to think about the cash. Absolutely. I don't second guess it. Right. And so then, but it then limits you and you say, do I really want to take that on? And you start making the contracts that you want a little bit smaller. And I think it shouldn't be that way, but again, you have to be realistic with what's coming in and then what's going to be going out. And so it can determine how quickly you can grow your business too. And I think we don't put emphasis on that enough.
I couldn't agree more. And it's funny. I've noticed the evolution of my business as we have continued to grow and scale. This was a very real conversation to me. And folks, I got to take it back to just a very fun, practical story. We were, a residential firm mostly just even 2 years ago. And one of the crazier situations in my business career was we were broke. We had no cash. We were struggling to make payroll. And believe it or not, I had one customer, and some of you guys have heard this story on the podcast. So if you have, forgive me. But I had one customer that owed me like $350, a mere little $350, Noe. And this is just where I was just, a handful of years ago. And this guy was living in like a $700,000 home, had a brand new green Dodge Charger, like SRT, this sweet, $80,000 car. He was an engineer for General Motors. And long story short, he owed me our monthly payments, for 3 months of lawn maintenance, a couple $100, right? Nothing crazy. And I was going into the Christmas holiday season. And I remember he had to leave to go to Mexico to work on the automotive line. And that $350, believe it or not, folks, like real talk, was the difference between me having Christmas presents under the tree or not. And I remember being a grown man the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve, or the day before that even, on this guy's steps because he was back in town. We finally caught up on text. He was good for it. He's like, "Hey, can you stop by the house and get your $350 or whatever it was?" And I said, "You betcha." And I remember taking that check to Chase Bank, and you know how they do like the 50% of it or 20% of it is like now immediately available. And I went to the local mall, 12 Oaks Mall, and bought a couple $100 worth of Christmas presents to put under my little tree, my little Charlie Brown Christmas tree with my wife and I. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a grown man begging for my money. Like shit's got to change. And I just realized I was spending probably 30% of my time being a professional debt collector and not being a business operator and a CEO. And I don't care if it's $300 or 300,000 bucks, folks, the numbers translate for all of us. And I told my wife, I'm like, something's got to change. And I'm going to champion this getting paid for the work that I do conversation. And I remember having this fork in the road 7 or 8 years ago. Things have got to change. And I'll tell you what, they've changed. And we'll get into that here as we continue to go through this conversation today. What did change? I want to really spend some time now. We've identified the pain that we've all dealt with, the cash flow struggles, the potential short-term decision making. Hey, it's hard to like rally the troops and cast a dream and like, guys, we're going to 5 million and 10 million and folks are going to make 60 grand here and 100 grand here. When you look at the coffer and you go, well, crap, how the hell are we going to do that? We have no money. Like that's a culture hit. That's an attitude hit. And I don't mean to make light of these things. I know some of us right now are probably struggling right now more than we like to admit. Listen, like we've all been there and there is a solution. All right. So we're going to get into that here today. So what did change? I want to go through this. We've got a great conversation with Kevin, design, build, maintenance work, Noe with more like mowing and maintenance work and commercial space. I can help talk a little bit snow. But for the next 15 minutes, I really want to plan it here and talk about systems and processes that are working. And so, Kevin, let me go to you really quick as we kind of go through this next slide, the what actually changed. And we've talked about what we were all doing before, but man, I really love to discuss like what we're working with here today and what's actually working. So give me a couple suggestions or some low-hanging fruit even that folks can apply this week, this month, this quarter to help them continue to fix their cash flow challenges, especially if they have a landscape or a hardscape, design build business.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I love the topic. And just to add on to what you were saying there, I can remember in our early years, many times. And one of the things to also add is like so many of us come from the field. We're not business operators. We don't understand how the business works. And pre-LMN for us is probably where I go to when I think about our before and after, because I operated for 8 years. And keep in mind, we were doing good revenue. We were, at the 3.5 to 3 million mark. When we got started with LMN, we quickly got to 10. Like within 5 years, we were at 10. And it was because we understood things better. We understood the cost of not being paid. I can think back to one customer that always brought amazing work, gave us flexibility. There was very little budget, but he was the worst payer we ever had. And we were doing projects where he would owe us 600, $1 million for 5, 6, 7 months sometimes. And mentally, I always thought, oh, the work's amazing. It's worth it. But the strain it put on our business and other projects and how much we had to jump for that person. I guess the point of that part is just don't get sucked in by right fit work if they're terrible payers,
Mm.
or it's a terrible contract. So yeah, our before was like pre-LMN. I didn't really understand business well. I knew how to operate teams. I knew how to do the work. I wasn't afraid to spend. Um, but we really struggled until we really understood how the numbers work. And then after, I mean, there's just a mountain of things that you can do when that cash flow is strong. You can invest better. You can do things outside of your business. You can pay yourself more. You can pay your team more. Um, when that cash flow is strong too, it's so much easier to talk to people about lending. You know, if you need to borrow and you have strong cash flow, like that's really what they're looking at. Sure, they want to see your net, but they're more interested in your cash flow. What's your average, bank account look like? And for people that are sometimes pre-LMN or early on in their business, they really, when they don't understand it, they're just using the business account like their bank account. Um, and that really struggles. And I was that guy for probably 2 or 3 years when we first started the business. So yeah, I always look back when I see the before and after. It's like pre-LMN, after LMN, and
Yeah,
dramatic difference.
I agree. That's been my experience the last 3 years utilizing the LMN platform. That we didn't have this in our notes, but that's funny. Maybe a third or half of our cash flow problems are just we're not pricing correctly. That's
Right,
that's some,
right.
that's some low hanging fruit. That's not even our notes. No pitch here, but that does make a lot of sense. Structuring the business differently. Let's play off of that. So if LMN helped illuminate maybe some of these blind spots in the way you were bidding, quoting, et cetera, how did you navigate moving forward? In a design build fashion or landscape enhancement fashion that I know you guys do a lot of. Again, great business here. Have you guys changed the way that you do draw payments, deposits, contract structure? Talk to me a little bit more granular about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the majority of our contracts, unless they're north of 1 million, which is usually, maybe 2 or 3 a year, they get set up a little bit different. But for the most part, it's 5 draws. First draw covers all the materials. Second draw comes the day we start. And then after that, it's 25, 50, 75, or sorry, 33, 66 final payment. So we've already covered our material costs. We've got our startup cash. We've got our draws to carry us through. And then the owner has a hammer at the end of 6 to 7%, depending on how the numbers round off. And then there's always change orders and extras and time material work that get tagged into that as well. So that's how our typical contract looks and works.
And you're able to sustain and cash flow some of these projects and not just, take a $500,000 backyard that you guys are doing. You're not taking all the risk either.
No, and I mean having that small window on the payment terms, like ours is literally 7 days. After 3 days, they get a statement. 5 days, they get another one. 7 days, they get a call. And some clients, like repeat clients, we're not as strict on that. But if it's a new client, you can bet that they're getting that call, and we will leave if we're not paid. Um, and again, when you have partnerships and repeat customers, some of that stuff gets left a little bit looser. But certainly with new clients, and certainly when cash flow isn't as strong as it needs to be, we really lean into our contracts, because that's when the client needs you the most. You're ahead on cash. It's a good time if you ever have to get out or make an adjustment. Just make sure it's all in there and that the details of what is to be expected are very clear.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Great question for you also, Kevin. If you want to maybe even text, that would be super amazing in the chat. Can you give us your 5 payments again? I'll let you catch your breath here for a quick second. Great
Yeah.
points. I mean, the folks that are out there still doing 50 deposits and 50 finals. As I've observed the industry, I think that's a losing proposition. I love the guys that are doing, 10 down to get on the calendar and then call it, 30, 30, 20, and then maybe a 10 on a punch out versus 50 up front. And God forbid the customer is upset with something with withholding 50% of that final payment. And listen, when you're doing $3,500 mulch job, not that big of a deal, although all things are relative. But when you're doing a $50,000 job or a $500,000 job, these are real conversations where you don't need somebody withholding $100,000, $200,000 from you because you had 4 arborvitaes that didn't take, right? So let's consider that as we put together our business plan and our business model here. Noe, I want to go to you for a quick minute. You have a great business, a lot of commercial maintenance, commercial landscape, a lot of residential work. You and I talk cash flow all the time. It's one of my favorite topics. You and I, we get together at a conference and we just get a cheeseburger and start talking business. It's so fun and cool to see how you guys are approaching this here at Avanza. And you guys got a very robust company. So talk to the folks here. What's working? What were you doing before a little bit? We talked about that. Maybe just a recap, and then what's working today? What's changed?
Yeah. So when I first started in commercial landscaping, it was we were doing, I think it's sort of exactly what you do, where it's like 10 months out of the year, right? I think it's March to December. You guys might even be a little bit shorter, I think you mentioned. And we were doing March through December. And then, but again, that first month is when we're all putting out the material and labor for the spring cleanups, and we're starting mowing the following month. We've now, and we're going to speak up about LMN again, but when we got into LMN, then we started changing out to 12-month seasonal contracts. And so we were splitting up everything. So if a contract started in January, it would start January 1st. So we then had January payment, February payment, then March to be able to help us pay at least a little bit into what was going in for the spring cleanup. And so that changed a lot for us. But then again, as we start getting into bigger contracts, then we go, okay, great, we're going to need a little bit more. But as you guys mentioned, is that budget, we started looking at, okay, how much of it was actually being sent out or being spent out of that budget in spring. And we really got to fine tune our numbers. And now what we've even got is we'll have $130,000 contract and we'll give them a discount for prepaying for the year, which I know is going to be really difficult for a lot of people. But just sort of like what Kevin was saying, I mean, we've slowed down our residential design build a lot. And I think even towards the end, I think we got down to like 33% as that last payment. And that's still way too much. I will be honest with you, I haven't heard too much of the 6 or 7%. But that's amazing. That makes so much sense. And I don't know why more of us don't do that. But it's as we get out of commercial, or sorry, get out of that and get into commercial, we're splitting out even payments over throughout the entire season. So that way when you are in the middle of August or you are hitting into winter, you're still getting the same amount of that check that you were in March or April. But again, if you can get those bigger payments and maybe offer them a little bit of a discount, that's what we got to do. And then we also realized that we didn't have systems. And so working on these systems exactly what Kevin said is, okay, he had it locked down 3 days after the invoice is sent, 5 days, right? And what we needed to work on was, okay, what is our process? When are we invoicing? When we started out with commercial, a lot of it was at the end of the month, we were then invoicing, which was then net 30. Now we're invoicing first of the month. And honestly, if we know it's going to be on a weekend or a holiday, we're invoicing maybe 3 or 4 days ahead of that first of the month for that. And so then we're now getting payments for a commercial, maybe the 10th of what are we in August, right? So maybe the 10th of August is when we're starting to get those payments. It's not at the end of the month or even into the following month. But we also have those systems for follow-ups and calling and emailing. And so then it's really made a big difference for us in that sense.
That's so great. That's so great. And you and I have very similar businesses. Your revenue's a couple multiples over mine, but we're common. And I just love some of the stuff that you're doing. You and I talk offline, and we're repeating and replicating some of the stuff that you're doing, some of the stuff that's Kevin doing. I've got this unique position where I've been able to host a bunch of these different webinars and seminars and go on the road with the LMN Granum Break Records tour and do some shop tours and really see what's working. If I can share for just a quick minute, I think some of the greatest companies out there that are really finding a lot of success with this, Noe and Kevin both alluded to it, is not just taking the same narrative at face value that landscapers are always broke, that we're always chasing money, right? I mean, imagine this. I'll ask you guys candidly, you tell me of another industry that extends as much credit as landscapers. I'll challenge you with any of it. There's nobody other than maybe a pizza shop. And I'll tell you what, my local pizza shop, you put an order over $50, you have to pay over the phone. So why are we still doing this? And again, so it's either we don't know what we don't know, or we have to put our foot down and change the narrative in our own business. Look, I can't control what my peers do, right? But we have to change the pattern that we're always cash poor in the spring. We have a little bit more cash in the summer, and then we're rich in the fall, and then we blow this reserve through winter. Like that narrative has to change. I'll tell you what, candidly, it has changed for my company. We've taken the suggestions from Kevin and Noe and so many other great leaders out there in the industry, and we're able to rectify some of these situations. For us, like we noticed with our residential billing, we moved to a card on file, and folks are like, 7 years ago, it's kind of unheard of, and people are like charge card on file, billed end of month, like you're going to lose half of your business if you do that. Well, my smug, funny approach was, well, hell, I don't care if I lose half my customers because I don't have half my money anyway. So all you're doing is helping me shore up the half that aren't paying or paying on time. So to me, I'm like, this just sounds like a double net positive. And that's me being a little funny, a little bit facetious, but you guys know what I'm saying. The card on file, LMN and Granum added that feature about 2 years ago to the platform. Groundbreaking. So for any of you guys that haven't heard about charging cards on file end of month, for residential, we don't offer our customers any other way to pay except for a seasonal prepay with a check, like Noe talked about. There is no other way. We don't take Zelle. We don't take Venmo. We don't take checks in the mail. And God forbid, we don't take checks in the grill, checks in the screen door, right? There's no other way to pay. I had 120 clients at the time, 119 signed up with a credit card on file. But lo and behold, I don't care if they're 18 or 80, deaf, dumb, or blind, didn't matter the culture, didn't matter the creed, didn't matter the religion, didn't matter anything. Everybody had an email and everybody had a credit card. And I changed that narrative for my company. And hopefully hundreds, if not thousands of you guys listening in that maybe have heard me discuss this. And you know what? The only thing that's been even crazier than doing charge card on file end of month was doing charge card on file weekly. And folks said, you can't do that again. And I said, well, every time people keep telling me that I can't, we seem to end up doing something and then proving those haters wrong. And I'll tell you what, talk about making your payroll and worrying about CapEx expenses when you have weekly cash flow from your residential, and then you get your big checks in from commercial, build on the first 7-month contract lawn, 5-month contract snow, or 8-month contracts or 12 out of 12-month contracts. Folks, this is the way the best businesses are doing it because you need cash to grow. Don't let anybody convince you otherwise, right? And so these are some of our tips. If you've got tips, throw them in the comment section. I'd love to hear what's been like some low-hanging fruit for all of you guys out there. So many great questions coming in. We're going to keep this conversation going. Chris Horning asked, we don't have charge card on file after each service. Customers are more receptive to it than I thought they would be. Yeah, that's it. Again, I remember doing a $1,500 mulch job. I went to the door and the customer, we did this mulch job, 12 yards of brown mulch and a little bed edging. And I said, oh, yeah, we're all set. Everything happy here? He's like, yeah, looks great. I said, cool. I'll wait for my $1,200 check. And he goes, oh, I thought like we were just going to, get a check mailed to you in a week or two. I was like, are you happy with the job? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, then I need to get paid, brother. Like, I'm not here sitting around for a week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks. And oh, by the way, 2 arborvitaes didn't make it. We're going to withhold payment. All right. So here's what I want everybody to think about and to remember. If you can only remember one thing from this conversation, let's identify the pattern and let's change the narrative. Let's identify the pattern and let's change the narrative. Noe and Kevin gave so many great conversations here and suggestions here about how we can start to shore this up. And again, snow, we haven't talked a bunch about snow, but maybe you have per push and per visit pricing only for plowing and salting. Why not just have a seasonal contract, 10 plows, 25 salt runs, build equal payments over 5 months, or, pick your market, pick your rates and your prices versus gambling and hoping it snows or gambling and hoping it doesn't snow, right? Like there's different conversations. I guess we can't give it all the way here today in the, 45 minutes that we have you guys, but challenge the narrative. Again, all the stuff that I'm proposing to you guys, I've ran it through a bunch of peers and competitors and well, we tried that and it doesn't work. And I'm like, it doesn't work, or you didn't have a system and a process to make it work. Like, which one is it? Let's get real. So I'm, don't want to hog the mic here, but Kevin, Noe, I want to go back just a little bit more of a Q&A here. The systems and the patterns that you guys have fixed, that have made all the difference in the business. Again, talked about estimates, deposits, and final checks. Kevin, I'm going to go back to you. Anything you want to add on discussion? Because folks are really loving your draw system. That was fantastic advice.
What's resonating with me right now is just you talking about changing the narrative. And I think, there's been a few comments in the chat about commercial. Quick story. We have one contractor that does a lot of commercial work, and they're a branch from a Toronto operation. So their contracts are more of a commercial contract where they do a 10% holdback for 45 days. We don't do that. Like we've had the discussion with them multiple times. Like, look, we're here to do the work. We need to get paid. This is our contract. We're not waiting 45 days for you to finish the job. which might take you 6 months. And 10% is a lot of money at the end. So I mean, we've taken care of them in different ways. We've strategized differently about how we price for them. They know they're getting solid pricing. They know the work's going to be performed well. So I think the pushback to the narrative, even in the commercial world, is still possible, right? If you can show them the value, Noe can probably speak to this better. I don't do a ton of commercial work, but I think that's one of the faults in our industry, even in the other trades in the commercial world. Like, why on earth should companies doing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work, if not millions of dollars worth of work, have to wait 45 days to get paid? It just seems like a ridiculous amount to me. And I know there's system and the cash flow probably works out over long periods of time, but I think if people really want you and value your service, there's different conversations that can happen. To my 2 cents on commercial.
Noe, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, even when it comes to snow removal, and I appreciate that you hit on that, because snow is really tough. We do a lot of not per plow either. It's all our time and material, right? So we're charging for however many hours we were there with a minimum. It's a 2 hour minimum for plowing. It's a 3 man-hour minimum for sidewalks, even for just putting down ice melt. And so we do all of that, and we have even thought about doing seasonal contracts just to appease some of the property managers. But what I've seen in a lot of other contracts, and we haven't, I'd be lying if I said that we implemented it, but I know it's possible, is you implement that they have to put a deposit, and it allows you to purchase material, the bulk salt, the ice melt. And and again, a lot of our competition does that, where they require that deposit. So I've seen it happen, and that's just for snow. For maintenance, again, one of the biggest issues I've seen for a lot of contractors is landscapers, is you go in and you're subcontracting for somebody else, and so then a lot of times they'll set those terms. And they say, sorry, this is when we're going to pay you. We don't subcontract. We aren't a subcontractor for anybody, and that was one of the reasons we got out of it, was because we had to be on their payment terms, and it didn't make sense. Somebody was questioning about the invoicing at the first versus the end of the month, and when we were a lot smaller and we were one of the subcontractors, we had to invoice at the end of the month. It was net 45. So imagine how much time had passed by after the work that we performed. So for me, it didn't make sense. And then worse with snow, some of them were like, well, no, you're gonna have to be net 60. And I just go, no, that if I've got to work under you, and then you aren't in charge of the quality, or if you're determining when we're going to go back, whether it made sense or not, I can take that. So with commercial, we are direct, right? So we're dealing directly with the property managers. We're directly working with boards, so that there is no confusion on, hey, these are our terms. This is when you have to pay us. If not, we are going to start adding a late fee. And I think most of us realize that the late fee is not really going to do much. All it is a little bit of a scare tactic, I guess, honestly, right? But one of the other things that you can do is, again, adding payment methods on file. If we're looking at commercial, a lot of the times they're not going to do a card for you, but they do ACH. And so then if you can set that up, that's one of the great things about LMN Pay, is that you can do ACH, have it set up where it does the automatic. I could do 200 invoices in a couple of minutes, and we set it out, boom. And then for the payment run, we can do those same 200, and we can do more. But I think what we've got right now is 200 on those automatic payment runs. But we'll go through, and it automatically draws from it, and then boom, we don't have to do any follow-ups. We're not having to chase after people, so it's also time freed that my staff can be doing other things instead. So it frees up a lot of time. And again, it's what it comes down to is systems, and that's probably where the biggest thing that LMN brought in was, how do we create these systems? What systems do we need to work on? And especially as you start getting bigger, you start handing things off to people, and you say, are you able to take this on? And when you find that things weren't clear for them, you realize your SOPs or standard operating procedures weren't clear enough. Great. What do I have to fix so that it can be clear enough and that we can grow, so that somebody else can come in? Why do you think McDonald's is able to bring people to doing hamburgers that have never cooked in their own kitchen before?
Yeah, this is really good. I want to go to two comments. Michael and Alexis, great discussion here about, how can we make this work with corporations? And I'll give you some low-hanging fruit. Two things that I would really encourage you guys if we've continued to grow and scale our commercial outfit big time. Number one is if customers are looking for net 100, net 90, even net 60-day payment terms, two things we're going to share with you. Number one, and again, your mind's like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So work with me here. But number one, negotiate those payment terms. Why is it net 60, net 90? Can you shore that up to shave 30 days off of that? We had a company that signed up. They said, we do net 60. I said, we do net 30. And he's like, can you meet in the middle at net 45? And I said, no. I said, we're in the position that we're net 30. I'm not your bank. And the guy goes, respect. He goes, I have the authority to actually override that to a net 30. And I respect your position. That shouldn't be an issue with us. You're going to win on that every time? No. But you have to be willing to walk away from the table if you know who you are, what you're doing, and what you offer. And I say this with total love and listen, total humility. They need me. I don't need them. Okay. And what I'll tell you, number two is if they're net 60, net 90 payment term, maybe they're not your ICP. Again, not to get lost in the weeds here, but maybe they're not your ICP. You guys are right. Sometimes you have to sign other people's contracts and you can't negotiate with Walmart on a net 90. I respect that. However, maybe they're not your ICP. If we're struggling with cash and cash flow, what's the definition of insanity, right? Like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Well, if we don't have cash and we keep going for these big accounts that look sexy, like Kevin said on paper, but dollars and cents, I have no paper, then they're just not our ICP. And so we don't want to build a business with all these net 90, net 100 day paying type commercial accounts. Is that everybody? No. Maybe you can front some of that and you can wait to get paid. But let's not go from one ditch to the other today. Does that make sense? So again, are you going to be able to get a card on file for commercial? Probably not. But can you adjust those payment terms or qualify them better as an ICP, ideal customer profile? Yes, that is with our control. And as the saying goes, right, like you can only control your actions and your attitude. So let's focus on what we can control today. Great discussion, by the way. I love this. Like, not to get all nerded out, but if you guys want to talk about pay and payment terms and all this mess, like I'm your guy, Kevin's your guy, Noe's your guy. This discussion is so important because, again, it's like oxygen. If you don't have it, it's all you're going to think about. All right. So we talked a lot about the different ways we're structuring our businesses. And again, we can hopefully maybe even do another one of these webinars, and hell, we'll do the whole thing just talking snow. And next spring, we'll do the whole thing talking spring about how to reset up our contracts in LMN. I'm with you guys. This is a very real conversation. Don't feel like it's all going to get instantly solved today. One thing I just want to say though, which is an alarming conversation for me, is how many folks actually make it difficult to get paid for their freaking work. Elephant in the room. Sometimes the barrier isn't payment terms or contract styles. It's how the hell do you actually get payment to somebody? I'd love to know in the comments if you guys have ever earned an account simply from the fact that the other folks that they're currently with, they have no idea where their invoices are. They haven't been invoiced. I had a customer that came on not too long ago, and if you, Kevin, if you would have told me I would have earned work in the commercial space, not because of price, not because of brand, not because of bench strength, but because we actually invoice on time on the first of the month, I would have said you're crazy. And we picked up a $15,000 commercial maintenance account, just lawn, not snow, just because I said, no, we use a great platform called LMN. You get a portal. You see the invoices. I see the invoices. We're built on the first 7-month lawn, 5-month stone, like Noe was talking about. No, like we're locked in on invoicing. Ironically enough, the one thing that I'm most always concerned about is getting paid. We check that box and we earned work because of it. And some companies out there, they mess this up. They mess this up. Listen, can I give you guys a super off the record inside baseball conversation right now? Don't share this with anybody. Exclusive. Never done this before. I had 15 grand of irrigation work done in my front yard just 2 weeks ago from a friend, a peer. Great guy, has a great irrigation division. His tech, when he was leaving after 2-day install, the site foreman, I said, so when can I pay you? He goes, oh, so-and-so follows up with that. It's been 2 freaking weeks. I wanted him to leave with a check. I wanted that money out of my account. I haven't got an invoice for it. I haven't had a conversation on it. I didn't get the friends and family hookup, if you know what I'm saying. I'm paying for this. And I'm like, why is this guy, does he not need my $15,000? Maybe I'm just not rich, right? I was just laughing with my friend. And I'm like, it's difficult for me to pay my friend. I'm like, what's going on here? So I don't want to, beat this one to death. Unfortunately, I've just found that sometimes we believe it or not, we have to challenge this narrative. Like, are we making it easier and easy for our customers to pay? You know, the credit card on file, it sounds like a convenience for us. I get it. You know what I do? I spin it and say, hey, listen, customer, you never have to worry about your bill. You never have to know if you have a balance due. Professionals that we're all targeting that have, you know, $500,000 home values and above for residential, right? Let's talk about that ICP. They're on it. They pay cards on file. They do auto draft on their mortgage. It's normal to them. They don't want to have an invoice, a paper invoice in the mail, or even an invoice sitting in their inbox unpaid. They would much rather you have a card on file. Just tag the account, Noe, we love you, we trust you, no big deal, right? And so that's my little rant here. It's my little soapbox. Kevin, Noe, I want to go back to you guys. You can tell this is a passion project and topic of mine. But Kevin, anything out there that you guys have known has helped you with earning work, closing more deals, getting your cash faster, just making it easier to pay?
Yeah, I mean, so historically, most of our stuff is wired. We're actually just in the process of getting LMN Pay for our maintenance division because our maintenance division solely runs through LMN. And there's a lot of synergy there on the way the structure works, notification statements, everything works really well. So we're excited about that. But historically for us, it's been wires. But as far as a tool, I just wanted to touch on one thing too, is that on some of our larger projects, customers generally, unless they're a really good referral, are getting other prices. But being able to walk a client through a job planner with clear description and really have them be able to look at what's involved in each item, the hours allotted, they get such a better sense of the time frame. And we don't do that with every client. But sometimes we always get a client that really wants to dive into the weeds about, what are you charging? What's your bill out rates? What's your profit? I mean, I'm happy to show them because I always ask them what their profit is because most of the people we work for are business owners or entrepreneurs. So that has been a huge tool to close deals for us over the years, especially when we get over that $1 million mark. Yeah, but I am looking forward to getting LMN Pay going. I think that's going to be a big one for our maintenance because we typically bill our maintenance every 2 weeks, and hopefully this will alleviate some of that workflow.
It's that cadence and that systems and process, right? Roots was just sharing that. Roots and Arbor. I love the name, by the way. Love that exactly. Noe, same thing. Listen, bro, is it just me or are folks making this like way more complicated than it needs to be? What have you found with Avanza?
No, I mean, so especially with the residential is where I've seen that, and I've got nothing against the guy that is just a couple push mowers in a truck because that's how we started out, right? Like I respect the heck out of it, but when you come in and you meet with somebody and they go, well, this guy he mowed all year long and whatnot, and so I was waiting for the invoices and I never got anything, and then I get this one big invoice at the end of the year. And it's like I wasn't saving up for $4,000 or $5,000, and I kept asking them for the bill, and they never got to it. And so that's why when you said that, I was like, my goodness, does that bring me back? So when I guess I really tried to bring that up and was like, okay, how do I not do the same thing? And I would write up Word document invoices just so that I could get that out and try to help try to avoid doing that same thing. And then as we got bigger and we got into LMN, and then great, boom, you just again you get that cadence and you get everything just going out at the same time. You get things paid automatically. You get that invoice, and I use LMN a lot for even when I for commercial work in terms of sharing what we do, and I go, hey. One of the things that makes us different, right? We can go out and mow your lawn. We can go out and do the mulching and whatnot. But so is every other company. What's going to make us different? So we talk about how they can use the portal to where if they want to go find invoices, they want to go find estimates, if they want to go find whatever was sent up, they don't have to go searching through a whole bunch of emails to find that one proposal that we sent for a tree removal. They can go into the portal and go to a tab that says estimates. So we use LMN as our own actual what differentiates us from other companies. And the thing is, it's all LMN that made that happen for us. It's not necessarily, we didn't create our own portal, but yet we, I guess, sell that to people. And so then again, when it comes to them being able to see all the invoices, being able to see all the estimates, all the job, what was done on site, where they can see pictures and notes from every crew. People love that. And I will say that they added in a little AI portion where my guys can put in notes and they go, the grass was cut, everything looks good. And then boom, it just has this whole summary that makes it look super sexy. where our customers now like, okay, oh man, you guys write the best notes, and I go, yeah, ChatGPT, I guess this, but our guys, it makes it a lot easier for all of us.
I love it.
So that element sells itself for us.
I love it. I love all of it. And folks, we're going to get a little bit more granular with an LMN Pay Stripe conversation webinar here coming into September. So you guys will get notified of all that. And it's going to be, we'll get more granular for it. Trust me. Like this is a very passionate project of mine. Because I'll tell you what, when you don't come from much, every dollar counts. And as you continue to grow, by the way, it doesn't get any easier. Like you need every dollar in so you can reallocate it to the next scale and growth sector of your business. Again, it's a never-ending conversation, but what I will tell you, just to give you guys a little bit of a maybe a rainbow at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, when you do fix this, right? When you do fix this, you can create this beautiful flywheel in your business. And again, most of us got started in business to make more money, have some time freedom, some financial freedom. Well, it's hard to do that without the financial aspect actually working in your favor. And you go from this hand to mouth scarcity mindset to creating this flywheel of a cash flowing machine. And really, that's what a business is designed to do. It's designed to sell revenue, cover some expenses, generate some profit. And again, one of my statements in life is figure out the way you want to live and then work your way backwards and know what it costs to support that lifestyle. And then build a business that allows you to offset that, salary and profit to obtain that lifestyle. It's a very, very simple formula. I'm a very simple person. Well, once you get all these systems and processes into place, you can create this flywheel, this great financial machine. And I don't care if you're doing 50 grand with just lawns on nights and weekends and a side hustle, a $500,000 business, or you're doing big, big revenue like Noe and Kevin. When you start setting these systems and processes into play, you can absolutely change your business's finances. And I do believe that if we help a lot of folks out there fix and change their finances, there's a downstream effect for your frontline team and of course your own personal family. And you can really start changing people's stars. And that's my mission. And so I don't want to sound like a broken record here that we've got to change the narrative and fix our finances. But folks, I've just found like 80-90% of the struggle out there is financial related. And so that's why I've went so heavy on trying to challenge the norms and really fix this for my business just as much as I know Kevin and Noe have as well, right? So let's do this really quick. We're going to kind of wrap up here. We're going to do a Q&A. I'm really, really excited about this. If you guys have a chance, scan that QR code. If you want to learn a little bit more about LMN Pay, again, breaking news, the Stripe integration came just about 2 or 3 months ago. I'm very familiar with Stripe. The previous CRM I was using before I graduated to LMN was using Stripe. I use it for a couple other businesses. Very familiar with Stripe. A lot of you guys know and love Stripe. You can learn more about the fees. You can schedule a demo. You can see how it works. But it's a seamless integration into your LMN account. Some of you guys are still using QuickBooks to invoice. I respect that. My only, caveat there is how many systems do you want to manage? Do you want to manage your LMN account, then manage your QuickBooks account? I get that, but the more modern way to do it is just have it all under one house. And, if you have somebody at your company who's handling the invoicing and the AP and AR, they can easily master having all of that system in one place like LMN. So check out the demo. Make sure you guys look out for that webinar that we're going to be doing here into September. And again, let's fix our finances and let's continue to get as much cash back in that coffer and in that till and operate from a position of strength. Amen. All right, let's do this really quick. Such a great conversation. I see so many comments coming in. I'll give you guys a quick chance to drop any questions you have in the Q&A. Also, I'm going to get a sip of water here. So what I'm going to do is let me kick it over to Kevin and Noe. I want to talk about credit card fees. I know it's a very simple one, but you can do a webinar talking about this topic without this coming up. Kevin, what have you guys known from like the hardscape design build? A little bit more sensitive topic there with credit card fees. So what's working for you guys? What maybe you're doing for an alternative? And then Noe, same conversation, maybe credit card fees. Kevin, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so we do only under 10,000 to just keep it simple because a lot of our draws guys are, six figures in any range. So we prefer the wires. We're happy to pay the $15 fee to have it wired. And most of our clients are happy with that. But yeah, the 10,000 and lower limit, we use it like a lot of our maintenance clients do pay. We're happy with that. Points are good. But yeah, I'm excited about getting the LMN Pay started for our maintenance division. I think that's going to be huge for us.
I love it. I love it.
Noe's probably got better info.
Noe, what do you got, brother?
No, no, I think it's all good. And there's so many different ways to do things. For those that don't know or don't use LMN, one of the things that they brought out recently was that you can actually charge your customer that percentage, right? You can add on a fee that they can, when they're going in to pay an invoice, if you're going to pay by credit card, you can automatically charge them that 3%. Now, this is, again, my own taste. I hate going to these companies and I have to pay that. But one of the things that LMN is really great at is that, again, you build your budget in the back end that will help with your pricing. So, truthfully, I'm charging my own customers that same fee, but it's a little bit more hidden. It's in the pricing. So I go back into last year and I look at, if I'm paying $70,000 or $100,000 in credit card processing fees, I build that into my budget as a line item, and then they're paying for it. And eventually that may only be $2 per transaction that they're actually paying. So it doesn't end up being much, but you could do the same thing with a lot of actually different gifts, right? One of the things that a friend of mine does using LMN is he built in uh, season tickets to an NBA team's games. So he goes in and he gets to buy them tickets, but they're paying for it because it's in the budget. So whatever whatever they're paying for pricing comes out of it. So again, just that's my own personal taste. I hate to have to pay those things when I see it. I'm like, my goodness. So I don't want to be those same companies. So I sort of hide it and but eventually they're paying for it. Again, it's just a little bit more hidden. So I don't want to feel like I'm being shady. It's part of our pricing. It's one thing that we're all going to share. So they are paying for it, but just not directly.
Yeah, you're baking it. Your philosophy is you're baking that fee into your budget. So, like Noe just said, so every 100 grand, not to get lost in the weeds here, but every 100 grand you're processing in credit card fees, or credit card payments, it's about $3,000. So if
Right.
Noe's doing a million, he's going to budget 30 grand to recover that overhead in every dollar of every labor, equipment, material, and sub that goes out. And that was the way to do it. And with Stripe, this is one of the cool features about Stripe and Element always being on the forefront of seeing what's working out there. Like Noe alluded to 2, 3 months ago, you have the option now to toggle that on. Doesn't mean you have to, but we actually did because I just changed my mind, actually. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of baking it into my overhead costs. I want to be as price competitive as I can. And my commercial accounts aren't paying credit card fees. They're doing ACH and wires, like Kevin said. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but I noticed about every 10 grand in my budget allows me to be almost $1 revenue per hour. I'm sorry, man hour cheaper. And so what I did is I said the residential customers are no longer going to inflate my commercial pricing. Now it's only a couple of dollars, folks, but I'm telling you, every freaking dollar counts. So now my residential are paying for the convenience, and the convenience fee, that 3% is what we toggled on, Noe. And my commercial, because they're doing wires anyway or checks, aren't having to pay that. And so I'm just granularly getting a little bit more competitive. And folks, I'm telling you, I'm turning over every rock and every stone. Now, does that mean you have to do it? No, everybody's philosophy is different. Everybody, like Noe said, baked in their credit card fees and their overhead until 2 minutes ago. But again, where are we at on that narrative? What's working? What's not working? And that's why webinars and seminars like these are just so valuable to see like what's cutting edge out there that folks are doing to just have that little leg up, that 1% better every day. So again, doesn't mean you have to bake in the cost, doesn't mean you have to charge the card on file. But what Noe said is absolutely great. You're paying for that 3% fee somewhere, right? You don't go to Walmart and your $5 box of cereal these days or whatever it is. It's not like there's no 3% credit card fee in there. Trust me, folks, they're baking it in there. And some folks were leaving in the comments, hey, we don't want to charge that fee. I just don't like it. Well, that's fine. That's your philosophy. That's your approach. And that's what makes being your own business owner and boss that great. Like you don't have to do that. Some folks are just saying, hey, that's just the cost of doing business. We had this exact conversation with a customer just a week ago. She goes, is that $3 on our $60 weekly mo every week? And I go, yep. And she's like, okay, no big deal. Just wanted to know. And it was like no big deal. So sometimes, folks, you don't have to explain away all of these problems, just so you guys know. Folks expect it. In fact, the last unfun thing between me and you with paying your federal taxes was those commies added a 4% fee. I used to be able to pay my credit card, my IRS federal taxes, Noe, with my 3%, and I just paid it because I got the points. But now they make 4%. They charge me 4%. Talking about taking the fun out of paying your taxes. So it's normal. Everybody's doing it. I'm trying to spin a positive attitude on everything we do, right? So, even the federal government's charging that 3%, folks. So take it or leave it. All right. That's what we got for the Q&A. I think this has been a fantastic discussion. Folks, this is a passion project of mine. I'm telling you what, we fixed this at Brian's Law Maintenance and it has made all the difference. Kevin and Noe, I know, have fixed it and are getting better at it every single day as well. We all are. And it makes all the difference. And I invite you guys to have that same discussion with your team to see how you can make it personal for your business and to solve those cash flow and cash problems once and for all to make that proven business model work that we're all setting up in our LMN budgets. Amen. All right. If you guys want to do a demo, feel free to scan the QR code. Other than that, I just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to hang out with you guys here for this last hour. Well, we couldn't thank you guys enough, and I hope you got a lot of value out of today's discussion. Kevin, Noe, super appreciate you guys. By the way, quick plug, they can find you guys. Give me the 20 seconds and we're out. But Kevin, Noe, where these guys can find you if they want to keep in touch with you.
No, go
LinkedIn for
ahead.
me. Yeah, for me, LinkedIn is probably one of the best ways. Love to connect, start posting out a little bit more. I want to share more about business and helping people out.
There you go. Awesome. Kevin?
Yeah, same for me. LinkedIn's great. Instagram's great as well. Muskoka Landscapers. Either will get me.
There you go. All right. Well, folks, network, give them a shout, shoot them an email, say, hey, offline, and we'll keep the conversation going. Guys, my name is Brian Fullerton. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to host this webinar today. My goal is to help you guys change your stars out there like I'm trying to do with mine and get your payments. It'll help you with that much quicker. And it's been a pleasure to be able to host this webinar here today. So again, big thank you to all of you guys who joined with us and spent an hour of your day with us. And also big shout out and thank you again to the Granum team for putting this together. We love you guys. Appreciate you. Go get them and have a great day. We'll catch you on the next one.